Welcome back, everyone. Architect Mobolaji Adeola Adeniyi is a distinguished fellow and the 30th president of the Nigerian Institute of Architects. As an advocate for green architecture with attention to functional and sustainable designs, Architect Adeniyi founded her architectural firm, Mobolaji Adeniyi and Associates Limited, in 1995. And now to discuss designing for inclusion, the role of architects in ensuring accessibility for all. I am now joined by Architect Mobolaji Adeola Adeniyi. Good evening to you, ma'am. Thank you very much for joining us on Politics Tonight. Welcome to the program.
Good evening, and thank you for having me here.
Right, so, it's been a year since you were inaugurated as the 30th and second ever female president of the Nigerian Institute of Architects on the 25th of November 2023. How has it been?
Oh, thank you very much. It's been very impactful tenure we've had. We've spent 1 year in office now, and there has been a lot of work that's been done, particularly in the area of advocacy. We have made sure we've gone round to all important areas, highlighting the need for them to use registered architects who are our members. And also we've gone to policymakers, government, and even we are moving out to the people, because we see that even a lot of people are designing buildings even without using registered architects. And that's why we see a lot of things around that honestly don't show the kind of architectural development we should be having in our country at this time. So it's been a year of advocacy moving around, and particularly we have been pushing the advocacy for people living with disabilities, showing people that as architects we can make the change and ensure that our buildings are accessible, livable, enjoyable for everyone, irrespective of their age, their abilities or disabilities. So it's been a great year. Thank you.
So I'm also wondering what you meant when you said it was tough convincing a client you could match a male architect. Also, have you always been involved with the NIA?
Well, you can see even from the history of the fact that in 64 years of the existence of the Nigerian Institute of Architects, we've had only 2 females. One before me, that was 22 years ago, and then I became president last year. It tells you a story. It tells you that the architecture space is male-dominated. It also shows you that people probably have more confidence in using men for designs, construction, supervision, perhaps because they think it is not the typical role of a woman. And so, we've had to break, these challenges, convince people, convince clients. It's a more difficult thing to do for women, I can tell you for free. But then, the interesting thing is that right now, we seem to be even having more females coming into the field. So I think men are becoming more comfortable with women playing this role, and the public, seeing the kind of things we're doing, matching the men in every regard and respect, they have the confidence to. So that's how it's been. Getting jobs, particularly in the first few years, definitely were not easy for me as a woman, I can assure you.
Right. So what specific goals and initiatives do you plan to prioritize during your tenure as the president of the Institute? And so far, have you been able to achieve any of them?
Yes. First of all, like I said, the most important thing for us was to ensure that we project ourselves, architects being the lead consultants in building projects. For quite a while now, we seem to have become a little bit pushed to the back. You hear all kinds of people in the business of architecture who are not even qualified to be architects. And so we've been going out to ensure that people do know that if you want to do any building project, you must employ the services of a registered architect. So we've been pushing the advocacy for the use of registered architects for all our projects. And we've also gone to government, because we do have very well qualified Nigerian architects that should be doing all the jobs. But we discovered that even up till now, we have a lot of our projects going out. We have many foreign architects coming in. And we have had to go around to governments to let them know that we have equally capable, trained architects in Nigeria that can do these projects. So the advocacy has been to push ourselves out, to make them see that architects are here, the architects can do the job, and particularly with all the kinds of cases of building collapse and all kinds of failure in the built industry, let them know that the moment they start using registered qualified architects, then we can begin to see less of this kind of incidents. So my advocacy really has been in the past year, get the architects back on the center stage in the built environment, ensure that all projects, public projects, even projects by clients, developers, what have you, are done by registered architects, and particularly, of course, members of the Nigerian Institute of Architects.
Well, I can only assume that this is one out of the many challenges currently facing architects in Nigeria. Because for those of us who see these challenges from outside, we see the non-recognition of the role of architects and the incursion of foreign architects, which you just addressed, the influx of quacks or non-registered people practicing the profession, non-compliance of the government, whether federal and subnational, with the laws and regulations guiding the practice of architecture. Are there particular strategies or solutions you have in mind to overcome the obstacles mentioned?
Well, like I said, my institute, my association, is basically an advocacy group. And I believe there's nothing that works better than advocacy. When you take the fight to where it's supposed to be, where you take the information to where the people should know, that is the first step. And then secondly, we're ensuring that all our architects are well trained, and we are ensuring continuous development programs to ensure that our architects are also able to compete with architects internationally. So this is part of the advocacy, to make sure that architects are seen, they're heard, and they're given the opportunities that they need to be given. I've had to go to state governments, I've had to see governors, I've had to see all the ministers, as many as I can see. Let them know the important role of architecture in the development of Nigeria.
So what was the reception like?
Oh, it's been fantastic. Really fantastic. We've been able to, go into agreements even with some ministries. We've been able to see, for instance, we went to see the head of service. We discussed with her, told her, for instance, about many of the buildings that are not even accessible, and how we as architects can do an audit of public buildings, let them know what the condition of these buildings are, and prefer solutions, make retrofit solutions for these buildings, because all our buildings, all public buildings, must be accessible to everyone, irrespective of their age, like I said before, irrespective of their abilities or disabilities. Everyone must have equal access to all our buildings and spaces. So this is the advocacy we've been taking. We've gone to even arts and culture. Let them recognize the fact that even architecture is a creative art. Architecture as creative art, there are roles we should be playing. How can we as architects ensure that our culture, our tradition is preserved? How can we ensure that our heritage buildings are protected? The architects are very important in ensuring all of these areas. You know, if you go all over the world, it's the architects that project the development of the nation. So architects, Nigerian architects, should be given that equal opportunity to project our expertise, to showcase our culture and tradition, even in our architecture in Nigeria. So these are some of the things we're pushing, and honestly, I can assure you that we are really making waves. Recently, we had a conference in Ibadan, our annual general meeting. We had a conference. We had almost 2,000 architects there. We had high government officers there. We had the governor. We had past presidents there. The theme was architects as agents of social transformation, because we believe that this is what we can do. We can turn our nation around. You know, how spaces, how buildings, how environments affect even the economy, affect how people relate, affect so many things. We need the architects in these areas, and this is the message that we're projecting, and I believe we're getting the right responses.
Absolutely. So how do you see technology shaping the future of architecture in Nigeria? And what steps have you taken or intend to take to ensure that architects stay at the forefront of technological advancement?
Well, I mean, technology has taken over every field, every discipline. And the architects in Nigeria are not left behind at all. So all the architects in Nigeria are abreast with new technological trends, and the Institute in particular is focused on ensuring that there's continuous development of our members. We have seminars, we have workshops, we have training sessions to make sure that all our architects are abreast, with all the technological developments in our industry. And I can assure you that every single architect in Nigeria, we're very comfortable and familiar. Also, we are doing a lot of collaboration even with our foreign counterparts. We engage a lot, we go for conferences. Our members have just come from Malaysia. We had a conference there. We were in Washington earlier in the year. We were in Kigali. We're members of the UIA, the AUA, international organizations for architects. So we collaborate with all our colleagues from all over the world just to ensure that we're abreast with best practices and know everything that we're supposed to do.
Let's talk about mentorship. How can the Institute, contribute to the education and the mentorship of aspiring architects? Interestingly, when I was going through your X-handle this evening, I see some young students and graduate architects questioning you on the kinds of firms to employ them to help them grow.
The Institute is very, very particular about the growth and development of its young members. The Nigerian Institute has amongst its subsidiaries and affiliates some of our members that are educators. It's called the Arches. The Arches are the educators and they're members of our institute. And they have programs that are directly related with working with students and ensuring that the curriculum is abreast with global best practices and training. And also, we have a mentoring committee in our institute. The mentoring committee ensures that young architects are paired with older architects. We have our fellows, and our fellows, one of the basic responsibilities of the fellows of the institute is to mentor the young architects. So we have our fellows being paired with younger architects, and since we have members and chapters in all the states of Nigeria, including the FCT, we are able to pair all the young architects with the older architects so that there is a deliberate mentorship program going on. Just recently, we launched the Young Architects Forum, which is another avenue for us to ensure that young architects just upcoming in the practice can be mentored by older architects that are already in practice. We also have an arm, it's called ACAN, the Consulting Architects of Nigeria, which is mainly comprises of the firms of architecture firms in Nigeria. So this part of our group, ACAN, also caters for firms, young firms, and there's also a mentorship program within that system. So we're very committed to mentoring our younger ones, and that's what we've been doing.
But what level of awareness is available so young Nigerians could tap into this?
Oh, like I told you, we do have these various arms. Like, for instance, the Young Architects Forum that we have, it's a group that is well over 1,000 already. We have a students' body, the National Association of Architecture Students, for all schools of architecture in Nigeria. They're part of the NIA. We invite them to our programs, we give them training sessions, we help them, as much as possible. We organize competitions, we're in touch with the schools of architecture. So we're very, very on ground with our young populace. And in the days of social media, it's so easy to get all these young people, interested and involved with what we're doing. And we've been using all these tools to ensure that they are doing it. But with the Young Architects Forum, this new one that we just launched, it was launched in November. I can assure you that that's going to bring even many more young architects into the fold for the mentorship programs that we have for them.
All right then. I mean, earlier you had emphasized on why every building should have an architect. But sadly, some property owners in Nigeria do not value the importance of architects in the construction of residential buildings. Is that something people should be worried about, especially in terms of safety? Do you think that if we domesticate the building codes and sign them into law in every state of the Federation, will this slow down the rate of collapsed buildings in the country?
Yes, on the issue of members of the public not valuing the use of architects, particularly for residential buildings, we do have to do a bit more advocacy in this area, because we do see that a lot of these things happen and we have buildings that honestly are not safe. We were at a public hearing with the Committee on Disabilities at the National Assembly yesterday, and some members of the disability groups that were there had a lot of complaints. Buildings with staircases with no hand railings, ramps that have slopes that are impossible, tiles used on ramps that are not safe, so many things against safety regulations that any architect that is registered would not do. Of course, we had to let them know that the problem, again, with some of our people is they do get the design from the architect. Thereafter, they don't even involve the architect in the supervision. And so this is where the problem is. You get to a place, you see at the last minute somebody just decides, okay, is this how we're going to do it? Put up a ramp that doesn't work. Use materials that...
Quickly, because of our time, I do apologize. So how do you intend to weed out these fake architects in 30 seconds?
It's a job we're doing. The Architects Registration Council of Nigeria is actually empowered to fish out quacks, let me put it like that, quacks. Those who are practicing architecture and are not registered. So what we want more is more advocacy and let the public be aware so that we can get in more reports as much as possible. Like we told the lady yesterday, let us know this particular
Sadly, we have to go.
We would investigate. Okay.
All right. Sadly, we have to go. We're out of time. But it's nice speaking with you this evening, and we wish you the very best going forward. Thank you so much for joining us on Politics Tonight. Architect Mobolaji Adeola Adeniyi, President, Nigeria Institute of Architects. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Right. Thank you. And thank you very much for watching, everyone. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight, but you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode at midnight. Get in touch with us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and X at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a great weekend.